Hey everyone, just a quick announcement before we get started. Anime America is celebrating its 10-year anniversary on October 2nd, 2017. As part of the celebration, we're asking you, the audience, to vote for your favorite top 10 lists and reviews. There are 2 links down below for both polls, so feel free to take a look at each one and vote for your favorite Anime America review and top 10 list. Thanks everyone, and I hope you enjoy the video.
Get ready for an unpopular opinion, but I actually like Netflix version of Death Note.
Seriously? You actually like that movie?
Yeah, what of it?
Well, I got one thing to say to you. I liked it too. We can be best friends now.
Best friends!
Together forever, no matter how long.
Death Note is a critically acclaimed classic anime created by Sugumi Oba and illustrated by Takeshi Obata. The original story follows a young man named Light Yagami discovering a mysterious book that can kill anyone around the world simply by writing their name down in the book.
The story became a huge success with the manga, anime, Japanese live-action adaptation, TV drama, and a musical? It was one of the most intriguing ideas to ever hit the world, as we question what can be defined as true justice.
Numerous talks circulated around that America would one day make their own version of this iconic story. Even actor Zac Efron did his best to make the movie with him starring as Light, but his version and many other ideas never came into production until now.
Production began in 2015 with Adam Wingard to direct. Even when this movie had to stop due to Warner Bros.' decision to produce less films, many studios did their best to try and purchase the right and let Wingard continue production. Netflix in the end won the bid, and filming took place on June 30th, 2016. With all the build-up and worrisome fans not sure what to think of it all, does this movie warrant all the hate it's getting? Let us find out as we review Netflix's version of Death Note.
This version of Death Note takes place in Seattle, Washington, and centers around a high school student named Light Turner, played by Nat Wolff. Life is not fair for Light as he tries to stand up against bullies in his school, but when he gets beaten up, his principal only cares about the fact that Light helps other students cheat their tests in exchange for money. So instead of bringing justice to bully students, Light is the one who gets punished.
It also doesn't help that his mother was killed in a hit and run, while the criminal responsible walks away freely. Feeling frustrated with the unfair world, a notebook appears out of nowhere next to Light, with the inscription, Death Note. During his detention, he examines the book more, only to come face to face with an actual death god named Ryuk, played by the one and only William Dafoe. Light, of course, has the appropriate response for any typical teenager, but more on that reaction later.
Ryuk explains that the Death Note allows Light to kill any person he wants as long as he has a name and face. Light tests this out on the bully who punched him earlier, and we are then treated to one hell of a gruesome death. I really wasn't expecting how gory this movie would be, but damn, that was messy.
Now with the Death Note in his hands, Light Turner plans to make the world a better place by eliminating all criminals of the world off the face of the earth, along with the girl he has a massive crush on named Mia Sutton, played by Margaret Qualley.
However, when the deaths become too coincidental and devastatingly reaching over 400 deaths, a rogue detective decides to team up with Light's dad in order to track down the killer named L, played by Lakeith Stanfield. Well, with this adaptation on a classic anime series adored by thousands of fans, how does it compare to all of the other botched up adaptations?
Honestly, we really can't understand all the hatred towards this film because it's really not that bad. Sure, it's not great and it has a lot of problems, but it's practically the best anime adaptation we have. Then again, that's not really saying much, though some would argue that Speed Racer is the best adaptation, but let us move forward.
The most we're getting from the majority's criticism is that it's not like the original. Light would never do this, L would never do that, and it's ruining the original source material. First of all, the last statement can't be further from the truth because, and I'm quoting Hot Diggity Demon here, reboots and remakes don't warrant as much outrage as they seem to elicit because they don't and never can, impede your ability to enjoy the source material. Basically meaning you can still love the manga and anime even after watching the movie.
Secondly, we are witnessing a transition of ideas. Adaptations can be a bit tricky depending on the fan base, so anime fans are quick to protect their favourite stories from adaptations, thinking any sort of production outside the creator's control is blasphemous. I can understand with some of the past movies and the changes made that only upset the fans more. Death Note, on the other hand, is a different level of adaptation.
Also, it has just come to our attention that the director of this movie quit Twitter because of all the death threats he had been getting recently. To whoever sent him these threats, you know that only makes the entire anime community look really, really bad, right? Not that we don't have enough that makes us look bad to the general public, but seriously, death threats are never a solution to your problem. We're not supposed to see the same characters and story reenacted. We're being treated to an alternative narrative. What if the Death Note was placed in a world with a more vulnerable and emotional setup? What if it was dropped into a world far different in mentality and strengths compared to the logical society of Japan? You would get Netflix's interpretation of Death Note. So as we continue with this review, we are only going to judge it for what it is, rather than rate it as what others expected it to be based on the original source material. This isn't supposed to be a reenactment, but a reimagining.
First of all, the story. It's the freaking same plot as Dragon Ball Evolution. Holy hell, really? The bullied underdog who can't catch a break in life suddenly has his life turned upside down by some random miracle while also attracting the girl of his dreams. I can go on and on and on of how generic and bland Dragon Ball Evolution is, but of all the movies to use the plot, it at least works for Death Note.
This is an American adaptation, so a basic plot that would more than likely happen in America works for this adaptation, unlike Dragon Ball Evolution. You can't make a generic high school gonna get the girl plot for Dragon Ball because it really doesn't fit the original narrative. However, in Death Note's case, the original narrative is still there. Ryuk grants Death godlike abilities through a book that any random person could use.
The narratives match and the spirit is still there, but the stories and characters are completely different due to the change in setting. Japan's version would star a character like Yagami, but the American version would naturally have an emotional, vulnerable character like Turner.
As we transition into characters, keep in mind that they're not supposed to be the same as the original. While they share similar names, these are characters put into a different scenario while being raised in a different setting. While Light Yagami is full of himself and feels justified in his killings due to his vast intellect and high sense of morality, Light Turner is being played as a victim character.
He's raised to believe good things come to those who are good and smart, yet he is constantly being punished. Bullies beat him up, teachers won't do a damn thing while punishing him for helping others cheat their tests, and his mother was murdered, to which the criminal responsible is still a free man. This to the general public makes Turner's actions more understandable and a bit more sympathetic compared to Yagami.
Yagami was raised with a perfect family and is praised for being the smartest student in Japan, which gives the alter ego Kira a moralistic high horse with a firm, grasping, idealized sense of justice. Turner, on the other hand, has a personal reason to justify his actions, being a victim himself, which gives a different tone and perspective for this character.
I've also been seeing this comparison shot all over Facebook and it's super annoying. Good God, yes. Yagami and Turner are different, but remember the context is key. The anime version has Light using the Death Note before he meets Ryuk, so while he is scared at first, he did expect something to happen since he's experiencing a supernatural phenomenon and has read all the rules. Turner, on the other hand, has just gotten the book, gets sent to detention, and BAM! There's a freak of nature trapped in the worm with me! Turner hasn't used the book yet and doesn't even know what it is, so of course he's gonna freak out. Okay? Have we gotten over that simple explanation? Good. Let's move on.
While the two may share slim similarities, the same cannot be said about Misa's reimagining with Miya. Misa Amane randomly comes across the second Death Note due to a random encounter, to which, being a big fan of Kira, she uses her intellects to find him and help him in his quest for justice. This then turns her from a competent character into a flighty fangirl that easily annoys a lot of fans.
Miya, on the other hand, can be just as possessive, but for different reasons. She starts off as a typical dream girl, as she's a pretty cheerleader constantly being mistreated by the jocks in her school. Once Light grants her access to the Death Note through the typical "you're so pretty" trope, she finds new meaning in her once pointless existence.
While Turner is a bit more careful with his choices and wants to make sure he doesn't kill any innocent civilians, Mia wants to kill anyone who could pose a threat to their mission. While this may upset a lot of people since the original Light had no trouble killing those who got in his way, this character transition only makes their black and white point of view gradient to the gray area.
Mia feels alive and fulfilled now that she believes she is more than just a cheerleader. She can purge the world and kill guilty criminals, and she won't let Light's careful attitude get in the way of her justice. She's manipulative, cold-hearted, determined to do whatever it takes to make her life worthwhile.
Ryuk seems to be the only character they didn't really change, but I believe he's more manipulative and despicable in this version.
The anime's Ryuk seemed highly interested in what Light would do with the Death Note and helped him along the way to the very end. This version, however, just wanted anyone interesting to take the book and see who can do the most damage. He wants to test humanity's sense of justice, or even boredom, and witness what any person could do with the Death Note. He thinks by giving it to a bullied victim, it could gateway into a morally fueled killer, but becomes disappointed when Light starts to be careful. He was willing to let Mia take the book, as she seemed more willing to kill anyone compared to Light. So there's no sense of loyalty, just a bored death god wanting to find someone fun and give them godlike powers for his entertainment.
This leads to more problems for Light to face, as he can't even trust the one who gave him this power. While Yagami couldn't necessarily trust Ryuk entirely, he was at least willing to go along with each plan he concocted, unlike the movie's version. And then we have L. He, like some of the others, has his own drastic changes, but they're split between good and bad. A lot of the character arguments revolve around his changes and desperate behavior towards the end, but while we see no problem with these changes, we're also not seeing a clear setup.
He still keeps to the nature of being super analytical while devouring his sugar, but as his world begins to crumble around him, we see him transform from a confident, yet introverted genius into an emotional wreck running down the street waving a gun like a crazy man. Keeping in mind that the police are not 100% on board with his tactics, while the only person he ever cared for is put in serious danger. Not to mention that he is confident that Turner is Kira, but has no evidence to make an arrest, or even any power to stop him. With all that, we can understand his descent into madness, but it's not really shown clearly why he would react like this, when there's barely any amount of time focused on his past and behavior.
Why would he react this way if we don't see any connection between him and Watari outside of the whole detective and butler relationship? We hear that Watari has always been there for L ever since he was born, but we don't really get a chance to see a father and son type of relationship that would cause L to react this way. From hearsay, we get that they have a past with each other, but other than Watari analyzing his sleep patterns, there's really nothing else to add to their relationship. If we put ourselves into his situation, we could sympathize and understand with the scenario, as we'd freak out over losing our own father figures. But being presented as a movie standpoint, there is no proper build-up that would cause Elle to react this way at all.
So with all we've said, you probably think we love this movie and won't acknowledge any of the flaws. Not necessary, as we're only trying to be fair and look at all the good this movie provides. Does it have flaws though? Oh boy, yes.
Obviously, the acting, mostly on Nat Wolff's part, is a bit bland. Even when we defend this scene and the context of the situation, it does seem like he's trying way too hard to overreact to the situation.
I think it's very sad, actually. I only mention it because that would make you over 18, which means that if you were to beat me up, which I'm sure you could, it would technically be child abuse.
Who says that?
Perhaps the acting is awkward because the script is awkwardly written.
I'm gonna assume you're still pretty raw by what you saw today at school, and that's keeping you from thinking before you speak.
Again, who says this? Daddy Turner would obviously be upset over his naive son's attitude, but he's coming off as a psychiatrist rather than a tired cop.
Also, the Death Note's rules were written to be a little too plot convenient. Certain things had to happen in order to get from point A to point B, but why not just have Mia rip some extra pages for her to use on Watchery rather than use the burning page rule? Yeah, there's a rule that can cancel one name from the book as long as you can burn the page before the scheduled death. But it can only be done once? I'm not even mad at the death cancellation, since the first draft of Death Note featured an eraser that could bring people back to life simply by erasing their names. I just hate the one-time use because it's way too convenient for the plot's sake. It reveals just how manipulative and cunning Mia really is, and it pushes L down the slippery slope. But there could have been a better way to make that happen. Like I said, Mia could have kept some pages for herself while keeping the burning pages rule, but for multiple uses, just so we can see more creative scenarios with how the Death Note holder can control other people temporarily. It would have opened more ideas and creative setups for future movies, but now we can't see it used ever again because it can only be used once. Well, gee, I wonder who you're gonna use it for.
And also, as I've stated before, they do borrow this generic story from Dragon Ball Evolution. And while I did say that this generic high school story could work for this idea, the motivation of our characters is lost when Turner is doing all of this for weird reasons. Yes, he wants to cleanse the world and make it safe for innocent people, but he's only pushed to this conclusion when his twisted girlfriend gets involved. He loves her and wants to impress her, so they together use the Death Note and have hot steamy makeout sessions.
This reminds me of the seam elements that botched up the Onslaught from the Lorax movie. It wasn't the main character deciding things for himself that ultimately set the course for his new world, but rather an outside source is pushing him to do it. Yakami was the one always in control, and wouldn't think twice about killing innocent lives if they proved a threat to his operation. Turner, on the other hand, has to deal with his girlfriend wanting to do the same, but he's trying to be the voice of good, which ultimately damages the story. The movie frames these two as a sort of good cop, bad cop, when they're both doing horrible things with the Death Note. Turner is trying to frame it as good guys bringing justice to an injustice world, so we can't kill any innocent lives, but Mia wants to take action and kill anyone who gets in their way. Kind of a mixed message if you ask me. Light in both versions is not supposed to be the good guy, so why is this movie trying to frame him as a reasonable killer? That he's just a good guy with a psychotic girlfriend. You'd understand, right? Any holder of the Death Note will have blood on their hands. There's no coming out of it while justifying your actions. So why frame Turner as the good guy and Mia as the bad apple? Apple. Maybe that's why Ryuk liked her.
At the end of the day, this is an adaptation in our eyes that can only lead to bigger opportunities. We have the Japanese take on this idea, and now we have the American take, but it makes you wonder what the story would be like elsewhere, with the same idea but different settings. How about we stretch the idea and give the book to different people? What if a doctor had the book? What if a politician had the book? What if two people from different political sides each had their own Death Note? Okay. That's way too scary to even comprehend, but nonetheless, I want to see the world of Death Note expanded even more, but in different hands and in different settings.
And to those of you who wanted a more accurate interpretation with politically correct characters and a story that follows the original story for the most part, you have that already. Granted, it wasn't that good, but it followed the original story a bit closer compared to the Netflix version. Plus, even they are expanding the world with different movies, including their newest movie, Light Up the New World. No matter the preference, you have a wide variety of options with Death Note.
The manga, the anime, the Japanese live-action films, and the Netflix version. All different renditions meet the true heart of what Death Note is all about. A random person has the power to kill anyone in the world using a book and can easily get away with it. What happens next? With this review, we're going to be fair and rate this for what it presents. The Netflix movie Death Note is far from being a good movie, but it has a lot of great moments that don't really make it a bad movie. It's not perfect, but we like it for what it is and for meeting the true spirit of the original idea, and that's all we can ask for.
What's the matter, Kenny?
Get out of the... Stop dying! I'm not responsible for all of these deaths, you know. I'm not gonna be labeled a murderer just because I'm rampantly pooing off of my... Oh. Let the bodies hit the floor! Let the bodies hit the floor! Let the bodies hit the floor!
I love you.
Man, it's so boring around here. I wish something terrible would happen and everyone would die. That would be great.
But I've got a blank space, baby, and I'll write your name.
Run, bitch! Run!
Well, don't do it, Cartman. Well, I'm warning you. Okay. I'm getting pretty sick of him calling my mom. Well, cause I'm the bitch, she's the big fat bitch, she's the biggest bitch in the whole wide world. She's a stupid bitch, and everyone's a bitch, she's a bitch to all the boys and girls.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I chose my path, you chose the way of the hero. And they found you amusing for a while, the people of this city. But the one thing they love more than a hero is to see a hero fail, fall, die trying.
Thanks everybody for watching our review. If you wish to keep up to date with Anime America events, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even Tumblr. If you want to support this channel, be sure to click on the notification bell to keep up with our video uploads, as well as liking this video and sharing it on any social media platform you choose. If you wish to support us financially, we have a Patreon page with numerous rewards to fit your budget, as well as sell posters on Store Envy and t-shirts on Teespring. Don't forget to subscribe to Anime America for more awesome reviews and top 10 lists. We also have a sister channel called Pop Spectrum, where we review anything in pop culture. Thanks again for watching, and stay tuned to Anime America.